Fear is not a weakness. It's a sign you're pushing yourself to new limits. Rise above it. Face it head on and let it feel your determination to rise to new heights. Show the world that you are unbreakable, unstoppable, unyielding, and remember, together we are resilient.
Calvary calling us first. You gotta put on your dreams, but you gotta learn how to lead. Songs of doubt, I'm telling myself that I wasn't great, but the bigger the plate, the bigger the stakes is raised. I know that I'm done with fate. I know that I'm telling my fate. I know that I'm running on faith. I know that I'm working so hard. No time for the games. I do what it takes. I need to make mistakes to learn from the demons that told me that I wasn't great. Thank God for my haters. I told them I love them. I told them I just followed the way. See you changing your life. I was just checking the signs. So that you can see it. Taking a part of your life, taking a part of your life.
Fear
Check.
is not a weakness.
All right. Oh man, I'm I'm having some technical difficulties over here. So I apologize for me getting started late. I hate starting like this, but I had to get out of it. It was doing some really crazy things. So give me a second while I attempt to pull up. All right. I'll just go with the bare bones. I want to be respectful of everybody's time. I'm super excited that y'all are here with me today. Today is going to be the absolute last day that I am doing this podcast from A to Z. Turn your voice into impact workshop. So by the end of this presentation that I'm doing with y'all, you will be able to wake up tomorrow morning and start creating your podcast. I know that it says 60 days right there, but that's just, and I know that might sound like it's not a lot of time, but trust me, folks, that is too much time. My hope, again, like I said, is for y'all to be able to wake up tomorrow and say, hey, you know what? I got enough information that I can actually start and launch today. For the folks that are returning, if you would give me a chat, I know, give me some feedback in the chat just to make sure that y'all can hear me. I'm live on, looks like YouTube and LinkedIn as well. And I'm also recording this for some of my students. That's a little bit the reason why it took me so long, because I was trying to make sure that the camera and stuff was working. I didn't get it the way that I would like it to be, but I'm here and I showed up. So that's all that matters. And also that you're here and that you showed up. That's also what matters. Do me a big favor. Go and tell everybody that's in your house right now. I got Carolyn that said, absolutely. Hey, Carolyn, thank you for joining me. Anybody else that's here, let me know in the chat where you're at. We got Nico Waters say that I can hear you. Hey, what's up, Nico? Glad to see you. Glad to see everybody here. And for the lurkers that haven't said anything yet, I'm gonna put the chat down here so that when I see you, I can respond to you. I want to say hi to everybody here, but yeah, part of the big reason why I'm doing this is because I feel like we make podcasting seem like it's way harder than what it is. It's actually not. You can start a podcast in 5 minutes. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be successful, but it's definitely not a process, or shouldn't be a process, to where it's taking you 5 months. I know some people, some friends of mine, I won't say their name, but they've been working on a podcast for 5+ years. Some folks, they're saying, oh man, Tony, I'm just going to keep meditating on doing the podcast. And I'm just like, oh my God, I know at least 100 folks that I've worked with already that's started a podcast, maybe had that person's idea, and it's just freaking blown up already, right? How many of you that are watching us today, you've kind of gone through those seasons where you're like, man, I really think that it's super hard for me to start a podcast, and I need to pay a whole bunch of money just so that I can figure this thing out, or I need to get all of this high tech and all of this fancy gear, right? If you're one of those people, like, I really want to relay to you today that you don't have to do any of that. Okay. All right. So we are going to get started. I am going to, let's just forget that we're on LinkedIn Live and forget that we're on YouTube. This is our classroom for today. This is a workshop. So get out a pen, get out some paper, and I'm going to show you the exact blueprint that I used when I left from work, and everybody at my job was like, oh man, you're going to quit this amazing job. I left my job, and I told them that I was going to be a motivational speaker, and I had already had my podcast. And they fucking laughed at me. They fucking laughed at me. Guess who's laughing now? I'm kidding. I'm not that freaking spiteful and revengeful, but it is funny, man. And the podcast is not nothing, definitely not nothing to laugh at. It's a serious business. If you are, you watch Netflix and stuff like that. Nowadays, you're seeing these subject matter experts. They're appearing on these Netflix documentary, and they're giving their input on a particular subject because they are known and they are seen as the subject matter experts now. But don't get me wrong, just because you got a podcast, that don't mean that you're a subject matter expert. Hopefully, when we're done here today, you will know the route in order to get there. And I'm going to get rid of this QR code. I'll pop it up here later for the folks that, maybe you're, before we even start, you've been coming here already the last few weeks and you've seen me talk about these different subjects in podcasting. And you know that this is the absolute last time that I will be talking about this particular subject, and you're just like, hey, Tony, I'm ready. I want you to help me get my show up and going. I do have a strategy session that you can go ahead right now and do a screenshot. And later, what you can do is you can just click the button and it'll pop up for you, and you can jump on my calendar and I'll help you one-on-one. But I'll give you some more information on that as we go on. And also for the folks that stick around, I'm going to give you a gift. I'm going to give you a free gift. All of these different things that I'm going to show you today, they all come with amazing worksheets that I use for my clients. The folks that are here, I'm going to give you a CRM for podcasting, and this CRM is definitely the blueprint when it comes to having a customer relation management system. It basically is the brains of your podcast. Okay. So let's get into it. Take some notes, do some screenshots. I'll also send you my notes. So don't feel like that you need me to slow down or whatever. I'll send you my notes when I'm done with this. Just go ahead and put it in the chat, especially for my folks on LinkedIn. Put in the chat free gift, and I'll make sure that I send you a copy of this and also a copy of the notes. Let me look in the chat and see if we still got some folks watching. Let's see. I can't see you from my computer. I just want to make sure that people are watching. I hate talking to myself. Definitely not. Let's see. Who we got? Oh, cool. And also a copy of... you can hear me talking still. Okay, so the architecture of podcasts, don't let anybody steer you wrong when they say, oh, yeah, a podcast is just so easy, right? And I'm not trying to go back of what I said earlier. It is easy if you have the right structure put into place, right? So the way that I like to do this, and not only me, but any other successful podcast that you look at, they have it broken down into 4 phases, right? 4 phases. And, this is the thing that you use to grow starting off. It will be linear, right? I want you to do these exact steps when you're starting your podcast out. But this is actually the same architecture that you'll be able to look at once you're done and you have a problem in your podcast, right? So let's say like you build the podcast, everything is going fine, everything is covered in the line, it's going so good, but then all of a sudden you for some reason you're dropping off retention. I'll be able to go all the way back to maybe step 3, media determination, maybe step 5, your podcasting hosting, maybe step 6, your recording plan. I'll be able to just point, and you'll be able to just point and say, okay, this is exactly where I'm screwing this thing up at. So to build it is definitely linear, A to Z. But as far as maintaining it, you can pop anywhere around, right? Anywhere around to fix the issues that you're having with your podcast. So of course, phase one, that is the foundation. That is your strategy. That is your purpose alignment. Ikigagi. I hope I said that right. I always screw it up. When I practice it, I say it right, but when I get live, I screw it up. Ikigagi. And I'll talk about that. I talked about that a little bit later, but this is like to get your purpose aligned, not only with the podcast, but with your life. And we'll go through that soon. Structure building. That's you building up all the things around the podcast that you need to. You know what that thing is going to look like. Phase two, that's the framework. Medium determination, we're deciding if it's going to be audio, if it's going to be video. I got some good stuff on that here in a bit. 4, that's the equipment. That's the equipment. Notice I said that's step 4. A lot of people, when they come to me, they say, "Hey, Tony, I need you to help me with my podcast." And I'm like, "Sure. What do you need, bud?" And they say, "Oh man, where can I get that mic that you have from?" And I was just like, what's the name of your show?" And they're like, "I haven't figured out a name." "What's the purpose of your show?" "I haven't figured out the purpose of my show. I just know that I need to buy the equipment." That's the wrong mindset when coming into this thing. And I'm not trying to say that to deter anybody from, getting that freaking good dopamine rush that you get when you're buying new equipment. That's not what I'm trying to do at all. What I'm trying to do is show you how to do it right. So that'll be step 4. And then after that, step 5, that's podcasting, hosting. And we're going to go through all of these different steps during our time together. Step 6, that's your recording plan. Step 8, that's your recording trials. You're actually doing the recording. Step 7, that's your marketing plan. That's a really big deal here. I got a case study that I'm going to show you. And then step 9, that's when we monitor all of the things that we put into place. That's when we're measuring, we're cutting the stuff that we need to cut, and we're making adjustments. And then that's when we can start talking about monetization. That's another one where people will say, "Hey, Tony, can you show me how to monetize my podcast?" And I look at it, and you got the phase is all fucked up, right? Excuse my language. The phase you're on phase 4, but you should be on phase 1, right? And you're like building this thing in quicksand, and you're talking about somebody giving you some money to monetize this thing that's not really even a thing. Think about building a house on sand and then talking about renting it, but your structure is messed up. The wind comes through, it falls down, right? So I don't want you to go through any of that. And all of these things that I'm talking about today, I don't want you to feel like, okay, I'm talking at you. This is me. Like the way that I prepare this is, okay, what did I need when I first started to do this thing? What are some things that I really screwed up when it came to podcasting? And that's this plan that I'm going to give you today. I'm going to make sure that you don't do the same things that I did. Okay. So, of course, these different steps, different worksheets, we are doing a bird's eye view of this step and this stuff. And let me know if you want the worksheets for this step. Let me know, and I'll make sure that I'll get those to you. But purpose alignment, this is where you actually calibrate your content compass. A lot of people, they don't do this. They just talk about whatever, right? And they don't make sure that whatever is going to be something that people will actually want to listen to, right? So the first thing that we look at for this Ikigai compass that we created is your mission. That is what the world needs. What problems are you trying to solve? What positive change can you create with the show that you're bringing about? When I first started my podcast, Leaders Lead the Podcast, I started the podcast because, there was a couple of different reasons. It was because COVID had just started, and I had quit my job. I was a motivational speaker. I didn't have no place to speak, and I started speaking and getting my reps in on the podcast. And then that's when things started blowing up, and I'm just like, oh my God! I start teaching all of these different all of these different motivational speakers, some of my freaking heroes that I grew up listening to, teaching and telling them about the power of podcasting and the positive, the positive, the positive things that was coming into my life because of podcasting, right? So, and then I took it to where, okay, I'm creating a business. So I started having people come on the show to talk to me about business. Because it was something I didn't even know. I even had a friend on before, and he said, "Tony, I think you spelled entrepreneur and business wrong." I didn't even know how to spell it, right? So, so why not create a podcast that can teach me some stuff and teach other people stuff? My mission started to change, right? My mission started to change. You can only read so many different entrepreneur books and listen to so many entrepreneur podcasts. I started to really get bored with that and the leadership aspect of it. I'm like, what else can I challenge myself to do? And me and my wife at the time was going to school, and we're still going to school to be mental health counselors. So that's where it's kind of phasing into now. My podcast is mental health counseling. And of course, what problems can you solve? You go look at Leaders Lead the Podcast. If you have anxiety, depression, PTSD, BPD, name it, right? We've had somebody come on the show to talk about it. And that's the world problems that I'm trying to solve with my podcast, because those are the things that affected me deeply. If it wasn't something that was affecting me personally, it was affecting somebody that I knew that was going through it. I'm just like, okay, let me get this person on so they can talk to them, and in turn, talking to them, they're talking to me, and they're talking to the world. So think about that. Write that down. What problem can you solve? And that's the mission, right? That's the mission of the podcast. And then the second one is profession. I wish I had something I can like point to it, but profession. What can you be paid for? This is a monetizable service, and you're thinking about the industry value, right? So I'm not going to create a podcast because I want you to think about these podcasts as a business. Of course, it's a hobby. I know people with 500 episodes and they just say, you know what, Tony, I really enjoy creating this podcast. It is my labor of love and I get paid absolutely nothing for it. But meanwhile, my wife is yelling at me because I'm spending $300 a month on the podcast. And I'm just like, oh my God, you definitely should be monetizing this thing. And that's the first thing that we decide is like, what profession are you in? How can we align your mission with that profession so that it could be something that you can actually get paid to do? And we'll talk about indirect and direct monetizing later on in the slide. So be thinking about that. A lot of folks, they branch out and they want to do whatever they were doing at work, or they want to do something that they're really interested in, or something that they're going to school for, right? So you'll see my podcast, if you go and download it, don't do it on the device that you're looking at this for. Grab another device and look at leadersleadthepodcast.com and subscribe to it, and you'll see that the change that's starting to happen with mine. You'll see where there'll be more like clinical things that'll be popping up. You'll see it through time, and just use my stuff as a case study, right? And that's why that stuff is there. You can go and look at my stuff and copy and paste it. I don't care, right? At this point, anything that I have, use that as a training ground. Just give me a little bit credit for it. All right. And then the third thing that we need to be looking at when we're aligning your podcast with your purpose, right? And this is you can use this stuff for life too. What are you good at? What is your unique ability? What experiences do you have, right? One of the things that people and this gets me into trouble sometime. One of the things that people have always told me is, man, Tony, we had an amazing conversation. And man, I just felt so heard. And I'm like, okay, when I'm thinking about this, actually somebody had texted me that I felt so heard, and I'm trying to figure out the structure of my podcast. And I'm just like, okay, I'm going to interview people because I want to hear them. And that's something that that's a skill that I have. Bing, right? That starts ticking off. And I'm very curious. I'm very interested. I don't care about being interesting. I'm a weird guy, right? And I accept that. I am a very weird guy, right? And so that's a skill, right? That's a skill. No matter how crazy that sounds, that is definitely a freaking skill. What's another ability that I have? Talking to people, getting in front of people. I know how to, man, I've freaking hit up some people that you wouldn't think that I would have access to in the government, people in Hollywood, and we just have long conversations. So I'm good at that, right? So what skills are you good? What skills are you good at? A lot of my clients, good at leadership. I listen to their podcast, and I just hear the leadership just pouring out. I hear the storytelling just pouring out. So think about that. What are you good with? Passion. What do you love? What topic excites you right now? For me, it's like I said, it's the mental health. Other folks is leadership. Some people, it's sanitary stuff in the hospital. The housing crisis that we're having, the economic crisis that we're having. Some folks are really, 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 really passionate about current events and things in the news. Some people are really passionate about politics, right? What can you not go a day without irritating your significant other about? Lately, my passion is kind of tilting sometimes because I'll go and I'll say, man, you see this crazy stuff in the news. I'll be talking to my wife about political stuff, but it's one of the things. Does it translate into your content? If you start noticing that you're more passionate about that stuff, then definitely jump on it, because you don't want to be like how I was. Let's talk about leadership and let's talk about entrepreneurship, and you're in, episode 200, and you're just like, oh my God, like if somebody else mentioned Lean Six Sigma, somebody else mentioned servant leadership, like oh my God, I got it, right? I got it. So what are you passionate about? So those are the four things that I want you to be thinking about: your mission, your profession, your skill, and in your passion, right? So at the bottom it says your podcast is more than just a show. It is a stage to share your unique gifts. Aligning these 4 points guarantee long-time sustainability. A lot of folks, when you see them announce that they have a podcast, they'll announce the podcast and they'll do all of this like promotion about it. So happy. Everybody's so pumped. The mom and the dad, all the cousins so happy about the podcast. And guess what? 3 months down the road, oh man, I'm not doing that damn podcast no more. I'm gonna get on Substack and make content, right? It's just kind of flopping all over the place because your purpose ain't aligned. All right. So step 2, and I'm gonna zoom through this. If y'all have any questions, put them in the chat. I'm going to make sure that I get I'm going to get to your questions during the Q&A part. I'm not going to answer them now because my ADHD is start going over the place and I'll get lost and I'll just be looking at y'all for the next hour or however long this is going to last. So make sure you drop them in the chat. Make sure you stay with me. If you have to jump off, send me a message and I'll still send you some cool stuff. It won't be the exact gift that I'm giving everybody for hanging out with me, but I'll send you some cool stuff. All right. So step 2, structure and build and format. These will be your pillars when it comes to the actual structure of your podcast. All of these pillars is not going to hold it up, right? It's not going to hold it up. You don't need all of these. You just need to pick one. You need to pick one and you need to stick with it so that you could be able to measure the effectiveness of it, right? A lot of people, they switch between all of these and they're just like, oh my God, what's wrong with my show? And you can't tell because they're doing so many different things, right? So when it comes to structure, the first part is solo. That is direct monologue and expert commentary. That's going to give you high authority and it has low logistical friction, right? So that's just like me. This is a monologue. I'm talking to you. There's no chance for anybody to interrupt me. Sometimes I like it. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I'm just like, what was I going to say? And I'll pause, right? But I can't do that because this is live, okay? So, but this is good if you actually have content that you want to talk about. This is good if you're an expert in your field and you have some some curriculum that you've created, or you're studying something, or you're, like I said, you're very passionate about it. You just want to get your points across. This would be perfect. I did not enjoy this so much. I didn't do a whole bunch of solo episodes when I first started because of my fear of public speaking. And I had people come on the podcast with me so that I can ask them questions. That was what worked for me. And it actually helped me get over the 100 mark when it came to my podcast. So, you know, there's some advantages to solo, just like there's some advantages into interview. You're one-on-one, you're asking them some questions. All you got to do is have your 15 questions geared in and not just like wrote down and you just follow that, but you have some intuitive questions that you're going to ask based off of what they say. And, you know, this is a high networking value type of situation, because I'll tell you, the people that I've interviewed for my show, we've gone on to do some really cool things together, right? Like I said, the people that I have in my phone, it just blows my freaking mind still to this day. I have a friend right now. He has a podcast. He was telling me about this former president of another country current president of a country in his phone right now. Like, what kind of networking is that? What kind of opportunities do you think that person that they're getting from being connected like that? Is super cool, right? So then you have the panel style. I hate those. I've been a part of them. It's always like this person talked, this person talked, this person talked, and it doesn't work well for my ADHD, because I want to just jump in. I want to say something, or when it's time for me to talk, I can get nervous and don't say something. So it's just, I don't really like the panel. The logistics on the panels are a freaking nightmare, because, you know, one person cannot do it, or you have to figure out different times, and then leading up to the event, you're worried that everybody's going to show up. So that's something to consider. But if you're just starting off, I would definitely say either you do an interview or you do solo. You do those two, right? Notice I did not say the third one, co-hosted. This is when you have shared hosting duties. This is high dynamic. This is high energy. It requires chemistry. Listen to that. It requires chemistry. That means that you have to actually like the person that you're going to do a podcast with, and not just like them. The chemistry has to be there for the show, right? I actually took a call from somebody the other day where they had just broken up with somebody that they had started a show with, and all of a sudden, you know, things wasn't working, not in like their relationship, because it wasn't in a relationship like that, but their relationship as far as the podcast. There's some shady stuff going on in the background, and I can see it plan out on the internet. And oh my God, that is such a horrible place to be in, right? I actually had that, I think, episode 3 of my podcast. Somebody reached out to me and they're like, "Hey, I would love to be a part of your show." You know, brought him on the show, was a little bit hesitant about it. And then that person's, what they were doing outside of the podcast started leaking into the podcast. And there was something morally that I just could not rock with, something I just couldn't, I just couldn't wrap my arms around. I just like, nah, this ain't for me. I'm good. So I had to let that person go, and that sucked. I hated doing that. I felt freaking horrible, and I haven't talked to that person ever since. They freaking hate me. So think about that. Are you willing to let those relationships go? Is it worth it? Right. And then the fourth pillar, that is going to be narrative. That is scripted storytelling with sound design, high production value, and intense editing. If you're a YouTuber, that's something that you're doing already, yeah, man, that definitely translates over to the podcasting arena. But I'm telling you, you're going to spend a lot of time editing. And if you're a new beginner, I would not touch this. I have been on narrative podcasts like this before, like telling a story, and they had music in the background and they had footsteps. I think it's super dope. I would totally do a narrative storytelling podcast with somebody that was doing all of that other stuff. So if y'all love listening to this, you're like, hey, Tony, I want to use your voice for something like that, but hit me up. But you will never see me producing anything like this because I just don't have the time, and I don't know too many people that have the time to do that. Right. So the bottom part of this is probably the most important. But let me jump back out and say something. Pick that, write that down, and pick which one that you're going to go with. Right. This is a workshop. So write it down. Solo interview, co-host it, narrative. Write it down, put it in your phone, take a picture. What did Smokey say on Friday? Write it down, take a picture. I don't know. I don't give a fuck. All right. So the very bottom, hopefully my mom's not watching this. So the very bottom, consistency over length. I want you to choose a frequency, weekly, bi-weekly, or monthly. If you're a new podcaster and this is the first class that you had in podcasting, get rid of the monthly part. I know organizations that do that, and that's because they have different obligations with other organizations. They use it as a, how do I say this? It's another service that maybe that they provide for somebody else. They're giving them that content. If you want to grow, monthly is not going to help you starting off. Bi-weekly, I think it's okay. But if you want to start off, you start off with you can do 3 to 5 episodes. You freaking release those 3 to 5 episodes, and then you go to weekly, right? And the reason why I say you do the 3 to 5 episodes when your podcast first drop is because you want to give them something that they can binge. It's almost like a Netflix series. If you know that there's 3 of them, you're like, oh shit, I can't wait till I get to episode 2 or episode 3. And, people feel an obligation to check those boxes, right? I've done it. People have sent me podcasts to listen to before they aired. And, I'm like, oh man, this is so good. I go to the second one. I go to the third one, and I'm looking forward to them releasing it. So you want the same cause and effect when you're doing this. And here's a secret. You got to make sure that you write this down just in case I don't say it later. But when you first drop your podcast, one of the things that you need to be doing is for your call to action, you need to be telling folks, I need you to listen to the podcast. I need you to subscribe to the podcast. And more importantly, I need you to give me a positive 5-star rating. Those 3 things, right? And that's going to help boost your show up like nobody's business. I said store. I didn't mean, was that a Freudian slip? I mean, yeah, you can have a store, but it'll boost your show up like nobody's business. All right. And that's actually how I've been able to get shows to when they first start to where they're already not at the top of the charts, but the new and most noteworthy list for Apple's podcast. I can do it just like that. It is at this point, it's a freaking science, and it's simple. It's so simple. I literally can do it for any podcast about any subject. I'm not like a braggadocious type of person, but the shit that I know is the shit that I know, and that's the shit that I know. Okay. So now you know it. All right. So the anatomy of an episode. This is like you are trying to figure out what your podcast episode is going to be about. This is how you break it down. You have the opening sequence. You have your guest introduction. If you don't have a guest, obviously not a guest introduction. And then you have your host and guest dialogue. That'll be the questions that you're asking that individual, or it'll be the structure, and you're going through the structure sequence of the topics that you're talking about. And then you have your outro. Okay. So again, what that looks like is opening sequence. That's the hook. That's your episode preview. That's your podcast intro. If you have a sponsorship message, that's your sponsorship message. You just hit that button. It'll sound something like this. I have one on my board. It'll sound like this. Hold up.
I'm so glad that I...
No.
Imagine
here we go.
Imagine having a virtual team that works tirelessly to bring your ideas to life. Introducing Simply Edit Pro's AI avatar content services. From training videos to branded social media content, monetized courses, Simply Edit Pro's AI avatars are transforming the way content is created. What used to take months can now be done in a matter of weeks with Simply Edit Pro. Imagine having a year's worth of highly intentional content ready to engage your audience. Our clients are seeing results faster and generating revenue from their content in record time. Spend more time connecting with your audience.
All right. So Simply Edit Pro, that's a commercial, right? That's actually, you go and check it out. simplyeditpro.com. They actually make good content for you. That's like an impromptu commercial. Go check them out. But yeah, so you can have something like that in your intro after the hook, the guest introduction. Instead of the guest, you're establishing authority. That's kind of like, if you notice what I did when I first started this. No, I didn't do that. I missed a part, but I was so frazzled when I first started. But I think it's important to let people know where you're at with the particular subject that you're talking about, meaning skill level. So sometimes on my podcast, Leaders Lead the Podcast, you'll hear me say, man, I binge watched this Netflix episode. This actually is a true story. I binge watched this Netflix episode or this Netflix series about revenge corn. I'm gonna say corn. You know what I'm talking about. I can't even think of what the series was about, but there was this lady, Charlotte Webb, and she basically took down this dude, and that was doing revenge porn. And I was so inspired by her tenacity. Before freaking episode 1 was over, I was already freaking DMing her while I'm laying there talking to my wife, and I had already got her to come on the show. So when I first started that episode, that I actually had her on the podcast, I was told that story, right? And people are like, "Oh man," they're thinking, "Oh, let me go check that out." And let me listen to that, right? I established authority and I gave them some context. If it's something that I absolutely know something about, like with this, I would have started this thing off. If I wouldn't have been frazzled when I first started because my camera is so jacked up and my ADD was going crazy, I would have said something like, when I first started podcasting, my money had went kind of funny, and I started, and oh honey, something it would have been nothing like that, but I would have told you that now we have a 3% globally rated podcast. It go anywhere from 1.5 to 3, sometimes 5% top podcast. I would have told you that the podcast replaced my income at a 6-figure position as a firefighter and a safety executive, right? It replaced that stuff for me. So that's going to let you know that I might know I might know a little bit what I'm talking about if that's what I'm doing full time now, right? So I think I spent too much time on that part. So yeah, 5 to 10% talking about that, 10 to 85% that's when you're actually getting into the nitty gritty. You actually telling the stories, and then the outro. That's the last 85%. You're giving a summary. You're giving thanks. You're giving your teasers. And for the folks that are listening, what would be the call to action if you are a new podcast host? It's going to be listen to the podcast. It's going to be subscribe to the podcast. It's going to be leave me a 5-star review, right? And some people, you got to tell them 5-star. If it's not 5-star review, send me a message. Tell me why it's not a 5-star, why you don't give my stuff a 5-star review. I'll make the changes, and then you give me a review a month from now. But I need it to be a 5-star review. And of course, it is not going to be sustainable for you to have 5-star reviews all the freaking time, because people can hate you. I got some people out there that freaking hate me. Internet smears. Oh, I done seen some crazy stuff from people that I freaking loved at one point. Where they're like, oh, I hate him and this and that. They leave it on my podcast. It's like, okay, thanks for thinking about me. But you want good stuff to go in there, and reach out to me if you do have that issue where there's some stuff on there that has nothing to do with you, or some hate stuff. I have broken it down in a video how to get rid of that stuff. I'm pretty successful and handy with it. So step 3, this is your medium determination. If you look at, let's go back and look at this. So we're entering phase 2. So far we did step 1 and step 2. I'm gonna go a little bit fast so I can give y'all the meat and potatoes for this. Let me know in the chat if you're getting some good value out of this. I got to know that y'all are breathing. I'm gonna look at my phone. See, Gabe, Tony, I need to have you on my podcast about podcasting. Let's freaking do it. Just finished a batch recording 25 episodes. Damn, that's a lot of batching. Gabe, how do you feel about set questions versus free flow conversations? See, I shouldn't have looked at my phone. I said I wasn't going to do it. I need to be disciplined. I'll answer that question. Hopefully you're still here, Gabe. But the set questions, I think at first I used to say, oh man, I don't want to do that. And, because I don't want it to be like not real. I don't want it to sound rehearsed. But I realized that when I got sick, I ended up having Lyme disease, and I would have brain fog. And I started having to write it, because sometimes when I would be podcasting, my brain would just go like blank, right? And if I had that sheet of paper, I can just look down at it, right? Just like if I start talking too much here, and I can always look down and tell you like where I'm at. So that helps with that. That's one of your tools that you have in your tool belt, not the only tool belt. Have that and do that so you can do the work, so that you could be creative, so that you could write that stuff down, because I obsess over the people I bring on this show. They see me liking their posts. They see me doing stuff. They see me reading their book. I'm reaching out to them, asking them questions. Asking a question. So I'm definitely going to have some stuff written down, some preloaded questions that I want to ask them. But sometimes we'll get so far off of the topic. It's a little bit hard to stay off on those questions. But I've noticed this to be really good lately, especially with some of the series that I've had where, I'm talking about narcissism. I'm talking about different stuff like that. I'm thinking of it like, okay, where do I steer this podcast to? What direction am I steering this podcast to? Some of them is like, if it just smacked you right in the face and you realize that you're dealing with this ailment, or you're dealing with this situation, that it can help them. Of course, I want to make sure that the questions align with that. So I hope I answered your question. Guy, Oh, you're helping me, Caroline. I appreciate that. I can read it, but I can't say it. Okay. All right, cool. We're gonna go. All right. Okay. Medium determination. This is the third one, and I'm gonna stay on track. This is the third one. This is when you're deciding. Notice we haven't got to equipment yet, right? This is all the slides I showed you before. This is the reason why I don't just give like, okay, go pick up this podcast equipment. You just can't freaking do it, right? You got to have all this stuff determined. But there's 3 different options that you have when you're trying to decide on, when you're trying to decide on whether you're gonna do audio, whether you're gonna do video, or whether you're gonna do both. This right now would be considered as both. If I was to take this and turn into a podcast, which I'm not, because my podcast is not about podcasting. But if I was to take this, and let's say I went on Gabe's podcast, I was to take this and make this into a podcast, I could strip the audio from it, right? Because we got good sound quality. Hopefully it sounds good. Does it sound good? So we got good sound quality. So I could strip that. And then I have decent audio, decent video right now that's been bugging the hell out of me since I started. So that would be hybrid. And then, just video where you're not stripping the audio. You can still hear, but it's video. It's just like on YouTube or something like that. And then just audio. That's me just stripping the audio and putting it on all of the major podcasting platforms. So I'd be like Apple, Deezer, Spotify, places like that. And even Spotify lets you throw videos on that, and we'll get into that later. But when you're trying to decide on that, I always steer people to audio only first, especially the new folks. I just got to the point where I've gotten to video because, boy, I was under a lot of stress in my life, a lot of freaking stress. Now, I can do audio and video, right? So I use video. So with audio, simplicity is very, very, very simple. Engagement is medium. Folks that listen to podcasts, they are not freaking reaching out to me unless I just, they reach out to me if I don't upload a podcast at the same time that I'm supposed to do it all the time, or if I say something that they don't agree with they'll reach out to me then, or if they have a suggestion for a show or something like that, but the engagement isn't like crazy, right? So it's not like really low. Production cost is very low. You can take your cell phone and create an audio only podcast. As a matter of fact, one of my highest downloaded podcasts, I'm talking about like thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of downloads, the most shittiest audio ever. You could literally hear the raindrops dripping on the top of my truck as I'm driving, and I'm just pouring my heart out and just talking to this thing. And then I'm like, you know what? Maybe somebody else would need this. It was just me doing my audio diary, and I turned it to a podcast, and it is still one of the highest rated podcasts. Okay. So production is very low. Monetization is standard. It's okay. I think when I first got into the podcasting game, the business of podcasting, oh my God, it was crazy. You just show these companies, you show them how many downloads you have. They get impressed. They see it and they're like, okay, great. We know that you got a good audience. But now with video podcasts, now a lot of these companies, they're like, man, no, we want to see the content that you can make for us. We want you to make us a video when it comes to podcast monetization, right? For those of y'all that are following the screen, we're on the video part now, right? The monetization. So monetization is premium because they can see you, right? And you could do so many things, so many different things with that. Production cost is high. Your camera has to be on freaking point with that. I hate seeing those podcasts that think that they're going to get this big sponsorship with shitty freaking quality costs. I mean, with quality video. Don't do it. You want your video, you want that to be on point. Okay. The engagement is high. If I'm looking at a video versus listening to something, I'm typing something in there, right? Especially if it's live. I want to see my comment go on the screen, and the engagement is freaking incredible. That's why still to this day, what I'm doing in this very moment on video will give me the highest engagement on LinkedIn. It would be my best performing post on LinkedIn. And if you don't believe me, freaking, I'll do a newsletter and I'll show you the different comparison. Just let me know if you want me to do it. I don't want to waste my time and do it if ain't nobody going to look at it. But I guarantee you it's going to be about, I would say probably about 1,000% higher engagement from the rest of my content. I'll put some freaking money on that. And video only simplicity, of course, is low because it is hard to get it to where it's right all the freaking time. Right now, I got this glare in my studio. That's because I think one of my lights is like turned this way. I was messing with my plants, right? So I don't know, it's a mess, right? So the third box, simplicity, very low. It's not simple because you got to make sure that your audio is on point. It has to be damn near perfect, on freaking point. You have to make sure, engagement is maximum. It's going to be freaking high engagement, right? The highest engagement if you're doing both. Production cost is going to be freaking high because the cameras are so freaking expensive. Some of them, at least the one that I bought is very, very freaking expensive, but you can use your phone to do it, but you have to like set it up and just like do all this weird stuff. So me personally, I don't think it's worth it starting it. But if you've been doing it for a while, it's worth doing it. Doing the hybrid, especially for exposure, getting a new audience in, I think it helps you a lot. And as far as the monetization is versatile, right? So I can take my audio content and totally monetize that with the company. And I can take my video content, freaking monetize that to the same company or to different companies or to different organizations or use it for my coaching program. Like there's so much that you can do with video. And if you look at a lot of my content, that I use that content for when I do this stuff, right? So you could do video. You could use video for pretty much everything or any function that you have in your business, as a sales agent, as PR. So that's something to think about. Hi, honey. Just talking to my wife. So step 4, that is any questions so far? I'm going to look into the chat really quick. Let me know if you got some questions. I'll take some questions. Ooh, good value indeed. I appreciate that. That makes me happy. Gabe, I have 2 commercials, one in the beginning and the second in the end. How do you feel about mid-roll? I think that's cool. I think that's cool. This is a good case in point. I was actually in here in my office talking to my daughter, and I was showing her a video of this new YouTuber that I found. He does like the rise and fall videos, and I used to love his freaking videos, and because they're just so good. The quality on them just freaking amazing. And so the video started, and there was a freaking commercial. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. It is what it is. I do that. I do that shit too, right? I put a commercial in the beginning, right? Just in case, they decide to drop off. And then that was his commercial. And then mid-roll, in the midway point, there's YouTube's commercial. And then YouTube does another commercial. And then towards the end, that's when he does his commercial. So he had 2, and then it was like 3, but it was annoying. It was just, we both were kind of like, damn, man, I don't want to watch this. It was just long and drawn out, right? If you have to do it that way, I would do it in a way of, let's see, context. I could have threw in a Shure commercial when I was talking about this microphone, right? If y'all are interested in getting the link so that you can get this exact microphone that I have, I'll send you the exact, not just the microphone, but I'll send you everything that I got in my studio, my Rodecaster, all of my equipment. I'll send that to you. And what I'll do is I'll throw it in. I'll throw it in a PDF and I'll just send it to you. Just let me know that you want it, and I'll drop a link in the comment section so that y'all can get it. How does that sound? All right. That was a freaking commercial, and it was just that quick, right? But it has to have something to do with what you're talking about. If you're going to do more than one, that's just, does that make sense? All right. So step 4, this is when we're actually making the equipment decision. So the source, that's the speaker's voice. That's you being able to talk. You got your mission, kind of what you're going to talk about a little bit. Capture. You got your microphone. If you're a new podcaster, that shouldn't stop you from that shouldn't stop you at all from just using your phone. So don't feel like you actually need that. But microphone, then you got the focus route. You don't need that. The only time you need that is you got more than one person and you're like really finicky with the controls. You want it to do and be a little something, do something different. I have a Rodecaster. It's like a big soundboard just for podcasting here. I can play music. I can do a whole bunch of really cool stuff, with it, but you don't need that stuff starting off. Sometimes you can just go from microphone to computer. That's what I'll recommend. The microphone that I'll actually show you here in a second, you can do that with. So then the next one is processing. That's your DAW. That is your digital audio workstation. I'm happy I learned this stuff. I didn't know this. I didn't know if y'all are listening to this, and it looks like we got quite a few podcasters in here. I don't want to make y'all feel like y'all dumb. I know I did podcasting for several years before I knew what all of this stuff was, before I really knew what all of this stuff really is, right? So don't feel like, oh man, I feel like I should be doing this, or I feel like whatever. Just take the information. You know better. You do better. Hopefully this will save y'all some money too. So and I'm just excited that I knew what DAW meant. So you got Audacity, you got GarageBand, you got Adobe Audition. That's actually what you're going to put. That's actually what you're going to put your audio content in, and do some editing after you've recorded. Or you could just do what I've did for many years. I'll do it like maybe on StreamYard. You could do like something like what we're doing right here. Take a StreamYard, download that sucker, and then just put it out into the airways. Put it into the podcasting network host that you're going to go with, right? And then monitoring. That's the headphones. You need them. You really need them. This was something that I didn't think that I needed at first when I first started, but I had an issue actually the other day where I was just like, oh shit, this is where these headphones could have came in handy. But yeah, you want to be able to hear yourself, because I've done podcasts in the beginning where I didn't have my monitors in. I didn't have my monitors in at all. And I knew that I was saying something, but when I went back to listen to it, I didn't hear a damn thing. I just heard dead air, and I'm like, oh man. My wife's like, what's wrong? I was like, oh, I freaking recorded my podcast episode, and recorded the episode and I freaking didn't get nothing back because it just wasn't picking, the audio wasn't picking up. So I can hear myself now. I know I'm good. Y'all told me that you can hear me, but usually this is a really good indicator when you're recording that you're going through. All right. So what do I got here for an insight? Match your equipment to your medium. If you choose audio and video, your ecosystem must support both without bottlenecking. So make sure that if you want video, that you got all the right stuff for video. If you want audio, you got all the right stuff for audio. But remember, if we're new, I want y'all to start with audio. Well, let's get the audio tight before we start worrying about the video. All right. So microphone matchup, you can, these Blue Yetis, these Blue Yetis, me personally, I wouldn't get these. I think that they are trash. If I had a highlighter or something like that available for me on StreamYard, I would be putting a big fat X across it. No, don't get the Blue Yetis because you can hear all the sound in the room. You can hear freaking dogs barking freaking down the road. Like it picks up some weird stuff. I've noticed when I've asked some of my clients, what podcast mic do you have? And they say, oh, I got this really cool blue Yeti that my wife bought me for Christmas. I was like, oh, you fucking take that shit back. Okay. So the Yeti X, it is, it's a more advanced microphone than the Blue Yeti. I've still noticed that it does the same thing. It'll pick stuff up at weird times. Sometimes your voice don't go through. I've noticed with a couple of different podcasters where it'll stop and it'll hiss. It'll stop, it'll hiss, it'll go. So I would say no to the Yetis. Me personally, I'm not a big fan. What I would do if I was on a good budget is I would get this microphone. I would get the Samsung Q2U. And that is actually the one that I'll send you. I'll send you if you're interested. It's actually a starter pack where it comes with 2 mics and I think it might come with headphones. Don't kill me if I got this wrong, but it's a dynamic microphone. It totally rejects the background noise. I think it's the perfect microphone for starting. As a matter of fact, that's the same microphone that my daughter is using. That's going to use for her YouTube channel. She still has it. It's like 7 years old. They won't die, right? So that's what I would start. It's around 69 bucks, maybe a little bit more, a little bit less. And then we have the Shure MV7 microphone. My microphone is the SMB something. It's not this Shure one, but this is the one that you're looking at is the one. It's like $249, and in my opinion, is one of the best microphones that you can get. And it's one of the microphones that people get when they're trying to be fancy. It's going to kill me not to know. Hold on a second. Yeah, it's a SM7B. So SM7B Shure microphone. And you can get these off of Amazon, which I'll send you a link. Sometime you could look. Facebook Marketplace. I actually got lucky with this one from Facebook Marketplace. And as soon as I bought it, I knew that I had made a mistake because that person could have easily got me. Could have easily got me. It could have like not worked, but I took everything and I plugged it up. But I mean, it could have just worked for a second. Luckily, it didn't. So yeah. So the microphone that I'll go with is the one that you have at the bottom, or this one, or the Samsung Q2. But if you're just starting out and you balling on a budget, get the Samsung Q2U. All right. Headphone monitors, we already talked about those. These big ones, they're 8KG Pro Audio K7 II. They're about $49. They're the closed back close back over the ear. They're not necessarily noise canceling. They're really big and bulky. I hate them. When I would put them on my head, that's like all you would see, like in the frame. I look kind of like like I was talking to some folks on the moon with those things. So me personally, I wouldn't get those. If you gotta get some headphones and you like the way that fit, I would go to the third one. That's the Shure S. Why am I reading it? Shure SRH4408. So it'll be the Shure with the closed back and a little bit smaller. I think they have a newer version that's smaller. I would get one that's smaller, lower profile, because you want people to see you, not the aesthetics of the gear that you have. You want them to see you. And in my opinion, it looks better on video. I think I would look pretty weird with with accessories. Even like if I put this hat on, right? I don't know. I guess it looks, yeah, it's me, but it's something else that's in the screen that really doesn't add value to the screen, right? You want them to look at you and listen to you, not the gear that you have. Okay. So then, well, I got this big microphone in the way. So then you have these. They're the Shure Ionic 215 earbuds, and they're starting at like $99. That's these right here. I'll take it out. It's really simple to use. It takes a while to get them to where they start curving right. I've had people complain about like how rigid it is when you first get them. But if you just kind of bend them, use it as like a fidget toy, use them as like a fidget toy, and couple of weeks it'll feel like normal and they'll bend and curve. But you just take it, put it in your ear, and it already says on it right or left, and then you curl it around your ear. There's a piece in the back to where they can collapse together, and you can control it from back here if you want to. I never do because I got the soundboard here, but for the most part, it's out of the way. And sometimes I'll have like, it'll be flying and flopping all over the place. That's why there's some heated subjects, but yeah, for the most part, they're stealth. Okay. All right. So we're going to talk about podcast hosting. Let's go through some questions really quick. All right. Still got some folks on. I appreciate it. Still got some folks hanging out with me. Put your questions in the bottom, and we'll go over them when we're done. For those of you that are listening and you're interested, there is a QR code. I'll pop it up here. There's a QR code. You can take a picture of that, scan it if you want to book a call with me. And all of these things that I'm showing you how to do right now, I'll actually work with you and give you a plan. Man, I was messing with these and now it's messing up, but I'll actually work with you personally and give you a plan so that hey, glad to be here. All right. See, I told you. Hey, glad to be here. Checking in from Indiana. I'm from Indiana. That's cool. I live in Washington State, and I'm from Gary, Indiana. What part are you from, Coach Carrie Willis? All right. Sure thing. Checking in. Okay, I think we got to all the questions. Sounds good. Okay. All right, this is what I was talking about. Banners. All right, so yeah, take a picture of that, screenshot it, and I will work with you to give you a plan. What I do is I sit down with you for an hour and a half. Sometimes it'll go to 2 hours if you need that extra time. And we give you a solid plan, the same plan that I give my clients. All right. So take a screenshot and go there. And once I get done off of here, I'll drop a link in there, or you can put in the comment section if you're interested, and I will, and I'll send you that link too. Well, let me know. Anybody interested in having this worked out for them? You're super excited about getting the podcast. It sounds, maybe it sounds a little bit still too hard and you need some help. Throw it in the comment section. Either do that, tell me, or throw in the comment section where you're from. Is anybody, we got Indiana in the house. We got, I think, California in the house, Florida in the house, Tennessee, Texas in the house, Hawaii in the house, Puerto Rico in the house. All right. Oh, there we go. Montreal, Canada in the house. Hey, hey, hey. All right. Now I can brag. I can say, yeah, I just given my my international lecture on podcasting this evening. Okay. All right. Back to business. I'm done messing around. All right. So I'll show y'all where we're at really quick on our map. On our map, we are at step 5. We're talking about podcast hosting. The rest of this, like we'll zoom through it. I want to make sure that y'all get all the information. I know y'all got some stuff to do. My wife just came home. I want to hang out with her a little bit, but I'm gonna make sure that y'all get the information. And I want y'all to also make sure that you grab the link so that you can get the recording for this and the notes that I used to create it. I did a lot of research. So after podcast hosting, we'll do recording trials, we'll do the recording plan, and we'll do the marketing plan, and then we'll do the last one where we're talking about doing some monitoring, measuring, and different strategies to monetize. Because I know that's why y'all are here. All right. I know that's why y'all are here. Y'all want to know and learn about getting your podcast monetized. I'm telling you, the way that I go about it is completely different from everybody. So make sure that you stick around. And in my opinion, of course, I'm going to say this, in my opinion, it's the best way to monetize a podcast. I think a lot of folks go into it saying, oh man, get 1,000 billion downloads, and then I'm gonna get a bunch of sponsors. They're gonna be freaking crawling after me. Well, so will you and so many other people, millions of other people. It is not that simple. You definitely can do it, but I don't think that's where, as beginners in podcasting, I don't think it's a smart business decision to look at it monetizing that way, right? All right, let's get a question really quick. I feel like I should wait until I'm done to do these. Let's get one, and then I'll ask the other one during the Q&A, because I want to make sure you stay. Coach Willis. All right. How do we feel about people attending podcasts or having conversations to get their content for their podcast? I'm very new to industries. This is typical. What do you mean? How do you feel about people attending podcasts or having conversations to get content for their podcast? That one stumped me. That one stumped me. Maybe tell me exactly what you mean by that. I'm gonna try to break this down. How do you feel about or have a conversation? It's not you, it's me, I promise. Get to the having conversations to get content for podcasts. I think that's I think that's a brilliant idea. the podcast where it was a podcast where I had my mentor on, and this guy's been my mentor ever since. We would, ever since I started in public speaking, this dude was my mentor, and I want to just ask him questions about his career. I want to ask him questions about, why he stepped away from Hollywood. This guy's like Emmys and all of this stuff. He never talks about that. He talks about Jesus most of the time. And I wanted to know more about him, and I wanted to just force him into a conversation where he had to talk about him. He's the master deflector. We'll be talking about some of his accomplishments, but then he'll go, "Oh, but you, Tony, but what about this?" And then I'll start talking and, telling him about my stuff. So proud. And I'm like, "Oh man, shit, I see what you did." So we just had a conversation. I had him on the podcast, and it was a conversation that I needed. I'm telling you. And the name of it is Healing with Laughter with Michael Pritchford. And he's telling some stories that will heal you no matter where you're at, no matter what you're doing, what you're going through. It's definitely a conversation that you need to hear. And that was a podcast. That was one of the biggest podcast episodes that I've had. Okay. All right. Look like we got a question in the chat. And I said I was going to wait, but I think this goes with what I'm talking about. Workman, different platforms to host podcasts or depend business or I hate that. Okay, cool. Perfect question. So I'll throw it up here in a bit. But step 5, podcast hosting, is your digital real estate for the show. Think about it's a distribution, right? When, let's say, you take your favorite singer, right? Your favorite singer. What they do is, man, I cannot stop looking at the comments. Sorry. So what they'll do, your favorite musicians, they're not just like how it was back in the day where they were selling CDs like out of their trunk and stuff, right? It's not like that where it's going from them to you out of the trunk. It's not like that, right? It's distributed to all of these different places. It's, maybe it's to, I don't even know the name of music distributors, but to all the different stores, right? That's where they send it. You can get it from Walmart. You get it from Apple. You can get it from, back in the day, you can get a CD from Target. You can get it from all these different places, right? But there was a middle person in the middle that was doing it for them so that you wouldn't have to go and do all the distribution yourself, right? That's when it comes to podcast hosting. It's the same exact thing, right? Gone are the days where you would just submit a podcast episode to like Apple and it's just at Apple, right? The way that it's set up now, you can have a distribution that'll send it to Apple, that'll send it to Spotify, that'll send it to Google, that'll send it to Stitcher, that'll send it to even YouTube, that'll send it to all of these different places. When I first started, this is something I got hung up on a lot, was which one should I pick? Which one should I choose? And the first one that I went with was Red Circle, right? So I started paying for that. It was really cool. The CEO of the company, really good dude. I mean, I fell in love with that company because there was people talking about them on Reddit, and he actually responded to them and was like, "Oh, okay, we'll fix that." And I was just like, "Man, that's cool." Right. And a lot of these podcasts, it's the same. They all started, a lot of these podcast hosts, they all started in kind of the same time frame or, maybe a few years before. And I feel like I'm in that period of my career where I'm like OG, where I'm like, oh, I know the dude for, I think it's Blueberry. I know him. Oh man, I was like super sad when he passed away. But I remember when he was trying to get me to get on his network. I think it's Todd Conklin, I think is his name. Right. So I know all of these people. So so y'all are in for a treat. I can tell you the ones that I believe are the best. And, Red Circle, they're good, but you're going to pay for them. They're all of them. They all do the same thing. They all send them to, give or take a couple of different places that maybe they don't send it, but they send it to all the big ones. Podcast.co was one that I used. They like build a simple website for you. It's like really simple, really easy, but none of them that I've noticed, none of the places that build websites where they build the capture page where you can capture the emails. If you go and use another device and you go to leadersleadthepodcast.com, you go to especially like you go to a desktop or the phone, you go, and what'll happen is there's a place for you to put your email address. That way I can see the podcast episodes. That way you never miss it. That way the downloads stay consistent, right? So write that down. But I had to build that myself. So I would say always get your own website, but then get a amazing podcast and hosting deal. But me personally, I wouldn't pay for it. I would go and use Spotify. Spotify right now, I really believe deep down in my heart that they're trying to take over the podcasting space, because before podcasting was synonymous with Apple, right? If you you go to the Wikipedia page, and they'll tell you that they're the OGs when it comes to podcasting the way that we know it today, right? So Spotify, they're trying to take their spot. So it's free right now, just like Apple stuff is free, but it's free, but they'll kick it to all those different places. And I don't see too many drawbacks with it. They don't have a place really where you can capture the people. Of course, it's their system, their database, but it will send it to all the different places, but you definitely will have to get your own website that you can use for that. So my pick is Spotify. That's who I use right now, and I think it's the best. Okay. And some of these, they have the monetization option on it, but you have to be over like, a certain amount of downloads and this and that. Me personally, unless your show is like freaking humongous, I wouldn't worry about the monetization efforts, because why spend your time in trying to like make them money and make you money? Spend your time in trying to make your show good, and then your show will start making money. I hope that makes sense. But Spotify. They don't pay me, but I say Spotify. All right. So the recording plan. This is step 6. We're almost done. The recording plan. You want to make sure that you have a really good recording plan. It might not sound like a big deal. It might not sound like a big deal to you, but let me tell you, it is freaking huge. There are so many podcasters, they can't tell you when podcast episodes are going to come out. They can't tell you what they're going to talk about. They either like write shit on a napkin before they start, and midway they're like, oh man, I forgot this one thing, or I forgot this one thing. Like, you want to make sure that you have a recording plan. So it could be like a checklist, right? If you schedule that call with me, I'll give you that checklist for free. I'll give you the checklist, and I'll give you actually the recording plan. That way you don't mess up. You don't miss any steps. Okay. But your recording plan should consist of these 4 things. That is defining the objective, the desired tone, the atmosphere, and specific outcomes. Say, for instance, I had this last legislative session. I became kind of enthralled in it, and there's these people I wanted to talk to. And so I've been hosting a lot of political people on the podcast. I had to come with a different tone. Usually my tone is very naturally, very affirming. And what I'll do is I'll say, yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Man, that's so cool. Right. It's almost like a tick, but I'm feeling it. And it's like what it's what I really feel and it's what I really believe. But with those people, those politicians, I can't be agreeing with them on that because, what if they're full of shit? Or, yeah. So I had to figure out the desired tone, and the desired tone for those type of interviews for me was more like the reporter. And what? And this. Why? How so? Tell me about this, that kind of deal. So different kind of atmosphere and specific outcomes. Some candidates I loved, and I want freaking people to see how amazing they are and why I love them. Yeah, different. That's my agenda. That's freaking my objective. Nothing wrong with that, right? And remember, as new podcasters, don't feel like you need to do everything that the radio stations have to do, that you have to be biased. Maybe your show is where you're very freaking biased. And that's up to you. But for me, locally here, I can't do that. And I learned my lesson from doing that. When I publicly supported a candidate, not knowing all of the facts, not knowing all of the things. And once I found out the thing, I'm like, oh, ooh. Let me delete that comment. You know what I'm saying? So, but it made me more curious, and that's what kind of created the curiosity from that. And you just remember, you as a whole, you want to be more interested than you are interesting. Don't try to be interesting. If you're interesting, like, you shouldn't be the most interesting character on your podcast. It should be the guest that's coming on and the people that are asking the questions, the people that you want your content to go to, right? I hone in and I want you to really grasp that. And that kind of takes us back to step one, really, because that's all part of the structure. That's all part of the purpose of your show. And if the purpose and point of your show matches on the ground floor level, the roots of the structure that you're trying to build with a podcast, then it's going to match the objectives when it comes to you actually recording the show. If I had a mic, I would drop the mic, because that is the gospel. That is the truth. Okay? That's the truth. Okay. Environment lockdown. Location secured. If you go and you record someplace, that's fine. That's fine. Me personally, I don't do it. And the reason why I don't do it is I had this moment. We were renting this place at the Chamber of Commerce, and we turned it into a studio, and we paying for like all of this different stuff, still paying for dues. It was supposed to be like an incubator, but it wasn't really like an incubator. It was almost like we were just renting the space. It was kind of weird. I guess that's another podcast episode. But everything broke. My computer broke. My lights fell. My TV broke. One of my microphones had freaking stopped not working. All this stuff broke. And I'm sitting there, I'm just like, man, all this stuff don't even work. I just use my phone. And then, as a matter of fact, I don't even really need to fucking be here. Right. And I thought about it. I'm like, I love being able to be at home. I love being able to be at home. This is how I secure my location. Hey, honey, I'm getting ready to record a podcast episode, or I'm doing a workshop today on LinkedIn about podcasting, and everybody know I turn my little sign, my little office sign that says I'm recording. I turn it around, and they know it. They wave. Maybe they don't. maybe they don't. Maybe I see them. I go like this, That's how I secure it, Equipment confirmed. I don't have to worry about that. Neither should you. You already got the equipment that you absolutely need. But, if you're one of my clients and you're buying this equipment, make sure you got the equipment first. Make sure you open it. Make sure that it's working. Okay. Role clarity. What are you doing? If you're working with a group of people, are you the moderator? Are you the operator? Has it been assigned? What's our communications guidelines? I've gone on a podcast before where they're like, all right, take it away. You got it. And I was just like, what the hell? What do you mean take it away? This thing, I didn't prepare a monologue. I thought you were going to ask me questions, right? So have all of that stuff squared away, right? If you had some hand signals, right? When you're just like, I'm not going there. Maybe it's, hey, safe words, no crosstalk. Maybe that's one of the roles that you have, but you want to talk about this stuff. And you don't necessarily, if you have a guest on your show, you don't necessarily have to have this conversation with them, because that is going to take a lot of time. When they're scheduling to come on your podcast, that could be a box that they check right along with all the other legal stuff that you're having them check, right? I do all of that stuff with my Calendly. And then not only are they checking boxes, I'm sending them a PDF, right? I want y'all to write this, make sure you freaking circle that part. You send them a PDF with everything that's supposed to be expected. Their camera needs to be working, right? They need to have a microphone that works right. And you are not coming on my podcast, and I'm not going to will not interview somebody while they're on their phone. It just won't happen. Have I made exceptions? There's been some freaking phone calls where I think, I take that back. Well, I don't take it back, but it's happened in the past. Jesse Uwuji, really cool dude, active duty military. He is a NASCAR driver, black dude. I think he's freaking amazing. They had some storms where he was living at in Florida or something that time, and we ended up getting on the phone because he lost it. But typically, because he lost the connection. But typically, no. As soon as you jump on, I'm not going there with you, because you got to respect you, the podcaster. If you don't respect your craft, nobody is going to respect your craft. I even had somebody jump on before while they were at a freaking, I think it was like a Starbucks or a Panera, something like that. And, with an iPad, thinking that they're going to, no, are you crazy? No, I'm not doing this, man. This is my job. This is how I feed my kid. This is my livelihood. This is my art, right? And that's the way that you should have it too. Okay. Content prep. That's something else that you want to have on the recording plan. Again, book that call with me. I give you this for free. The recording plan. Step 7, the marketing plan. This is a case study that I have where the Warrior Servant Leader podcast, we'll just take his case as an example. One of his goals was to get 500 downloads in 3 months. That was one of the goals I remember him saying. And I think we blew past. He blew past this easy, right? Blew past it easy. And just like a lot of my other clients that I work with, they blow past these goals so easy, because if you have a structure put into place, a structure that works, why change it? So they all do the same thing because it works and they don't change it. Okay. So the stuff that I'm telling you, don't keep trying to reinvent the wheel, right? This is the wheel, what I'm showing you right here. And I have worked with people and they try to deviate from it. And oh my God, that's one of the things where I'm just like, the karate chop. Like if we're taking it back to the day when I was in karate, do a kata tioko on you because you got to listen and do it exactly. And it's not because I'm a control freak. There is some things that I like to control, but this is not one of them. If you hire me to help you to make your podcast successful, you got to listen to me. And right now, you're hiring me. We're doing this. This is like, we're doing this for free. This is you and I. So listen to me. I'm glad I got your attention now. All right. So the first thing that you want to do, weekly episodes targeting a specific niche. Don't mess this part up. For him in this part, it's law enforcement and leadership. The ages were when we did the assessment together, 21 to 65, right? 21 to 65. Those are the ages. And so, all right, cool. So that's where we started, right? And we added some other stuff in there, storytelling. We did a whole freaking worksheet on figuring out this part, right? And then once we got that part right, we moved over after it was created, right? We did the repurpose audio clips into short forms. That's video clips that could be audiograms, that could be blogs, however it is that you're doing it, right? And that works. You got that stuff, you make that stuff, you create it. The process should be really seamless. It should be easy. A lot of these tools, especially like StreamYard, they'll do the clips for you for free. You can get Opus cuts. I don't get no money from them. You could do that for free. Not for free. I think they'll give you like it's stamped and branded for free. Go and check it out for free. But I'm gonna stomp my foot just like the teachers do in class, and they stomp the foot because they want you to remember this when it's time for you to take the test so that you don't fail the test. Don't leave the Opus Clip logo on your clips. They might love, and they might appreciate you doing that, but it gives you no damn value at all. It actually makes your stuff look cheap. So don't do it. I'm not saying, don't do it, and don't do anything to rip them off either by like trying to copy it, because like it's copy it and then put it in Canva. I know people do that. Respect the creators, and then the rest of the creators, they'll respect you. There's some really good people that at Opus Clips. I got a couple stories about them, which is really phenomenal just to be able to see how they blew up too. But anyway, I digress. Make the clips, let people see it, even if it's an audio show, have something to show people, right? And then after you create that stuff, you do the targeted distribution. And remember, this is your marketing plan. Your targeted distribution, you're pushing content to primary channels. LinkedIn is for high professional engagement, right? So you use LinkedIn. If you're on LinkedIn, you're watching me on LinkedIn right now, LinkedIn has been my bread and butter. Don't let anybody tell you that any other platform works better. I don't agree with that. I think for the way that you're trying to structure this thing up, as far as like you get monetizing, not off of downloads, monetizing off of your business, off of your coaching, your teaching, off of whatever it is that you do. You might have a course, you might have some stuff, right? That's the way that you're going to monetize the most. I've learned this, and I might be biased, but it's been my experience from marketing on Instagram. It's been the people that want to look like they got money, but then market on LinkedIn. Those are the people that actually have the money and that will get your coaching. I've gotten so many, let me pick my brains from both, things from both social media platforms, but Instagram by far is the most. My coaching that I had, not too much off of Instagram at all, but LinkedIn has been my baby. I'll tell you that. When it comes to you monetizing your coaching on different platforms. So for this case study, we use LinkedIn and the newsletters on LinkedIn, and it actually worked. It worked. His downloads, I still look at some of the screenshots that he would send me, and I'm amazed because of how happy he was. Oh, 100, 200, 300, 400, 500. Man, it just started freaking flowing, and it didn't stop, and it's still going. And man, he's doing a really good job. So that's step 3. Step 4, that's your SEO. That's your community engagement. That's like after, wherever you got this content and stuff at, make sure that your SEO is squared away. That's your keyword optimization for him. It was more like, it was tactical leadership. It was law enforcement, different words that's going to drive organic discovery. That's what'll get that SEO going. A lot of podcasters don't focus on podcast SEO. I think they're making a big mistake. Look at it as, it's called search engine optimization, but look at it more like this. If I want to learn how to do something, I'm going to, hands-on, I'm going to go to like YouTube. I'm going to search, how do I start a podcast, right? On my phone, I'm going to search it. And then the only thing that's going to come up really are podcast. And then the fact that I said how to do my podcast, it's going to be how-to videos. So how can you take your podcast and wherever you're putting it, in this case, LinkedIn, or how can you create that atmosphere so that it can happen, so it can reach your target audience, right? So think about that. And then community engagement. So many times as new podcasters, something that's new, something that's going, so many times like we're afraid to ask our community that we have to help us. And it's mind-boggling. And maybe even more mind-boggling is a lot of people, they're like family and friends, they won't help them until they blow up, right? But I want you to think about right now, who do you have, and you write this down too, who do you have that will eat that shit up? Your family that can help promote it as soon as it dropped, right? When podcasts drop on my network, I'm telling them, reach out to, minimum 25 people that can listen to the episode, that can subscribe, and that can leave you a review. 25 people in the first 75 hours, right? Who do you have that can do that? Because if you do that, like if you write this down, this will take your stuff freaking to the moon, I promise. If you do that, you have a better chance of getting on the new and most noteworthy list, right? So who can you right now engage to have do that? I would have my mom, my sister, my daughter, my son, I don't know, create an account for my dog. Who could I get that could do this, right? And then, I'm getting people hyped up over it. I'm not saying crazy stuff like, check out my new podcast episode this week, or new podcast dropping. I got a new podcast dropping. Got a new podcast. Can you support the pod? Hell no. Don't say that. How can you give value to those people? How can you give value to the people? For my podcast episodes, if I wanted to give you the one, maybe I'm taking it personal. Man, yeah, Tony, your confidence is so freaking cool. How confident you are. And I'm like, no, man, and a couple of people said this and I thought about it. And I was like, yeah, there's this podcast episode where, had this dude on the show. He was a billionaire, and he actually had put money into Skype, put money into Tesla, knows Elon Musk personally, right? And he told me that what Elon Musk was doing was amazing with Doge. And this was during the time where he was doing it. And I was seeing all the people that was fucking affected by this, all the people, my friends that were either like getting demoted or losing their government jobs during this. And seeing the letters from the colleges, you know, because of the changes, the changes that they're making, the things that were getting cut off for everyday normal people. And I was fucking disgusted by that. And I pushed back when he said that Elon Musk was doing a good job, but I didn't push back hard enough. So now that you know that story, now you're probably interested in maybe listening to it, right? Because you want to capture and see what that moment was like for me. So instead of selling that podcast cheap by saying, check out my new podcast, new episode dropping, all of that garbage, I'm going to say something along the lines of, I wish I would have pushed back harder. I had billionaire, angel investor, tech mogul, Tim Draper on my podcast praising the job that Elon Musk was doing. I didn't say enough. I said some. What I would have said really doesn't matter. But that day I learned a huge lesson. They're not like us, or something like that, right? And then I'll say something like, click the link below, or the episode is below, or you know where to get the episode. That's what get people going. And they actually want to listen to the episode. They actually want to hear the drama. They actually want to know about it. They want to learn from it, because they can remember when it was a time where they didn't speak up. Right? Just like I'm sure you can. Okay. So think about that. How can you really connect it to the audience? Do polls. A lot of times I'll do polls. You'll see me do polls for my clients. I've had polls where we've had like over a couple thousand people will say, yeah, that's a good idea. I would totally listen to a podcast like that. And then what they do afterwards, you know, I send them the link to that person's website or my website or whatever. And then podcast drop, and then there's subscribers, because they have vested interest. So that's how you do it. Okay. All right. And these are not deceptive. This is a better way to get engagement with the community that you have, instead of just asking for support, instead of just taking. This is you actually giving. Okay. All right. So we got a couple more, and then I'll be done. Make sure you write your questions. I'll be done here soon in a bit, and I'll answer any questions that you have. And even if you want to jump up here with me for a second and ask a question, you want to jump on camera, you could go get ready or whatever. I'll be done here soon. But you know, just tell me in the comments, hey, I want to jump on it, and I'll put the link, and you can jump on and ask your question, or you could just ask the question, and then we'll go about it that way. All right. So step 8, recording trials. Before you get ready to, man, my friends are going to kill me. I got friends, man. This is how they make a living. I'm giving it all away for free. I love it. Okay. Focus, Anthony, focus. Step 8, that's going to be your recording trials. This is like when you're doing your dry runs. Yep. I said dry runs. You do not want the first time that you record an episode is the first time that you're touching the equipment. It's the first time that you're doing what you're doing. Everything matters. Everything matters when it comes to this. Okay. Like, say for instance, you know, my camera set up. If I just came in here with what I had on earlier with a white hoodie, and I came in here, my camera would be even worse than what it is right now. You'll see like a big blur freaking going from it, and you'll see like reflections. It would look so crazy, right? It just wouldn't look right. So what I made sure that I did was I have this, right? I got my shirt on, my black one. I already, I went and threw that on, and I have this to put on because it's cold. It's cold usually in here, and it's cold. And guess what? It's branded. It matched. That's my podcast logo, right? I thought about all of that. The light situation. I know, I got my cameras. I got my remotes for all my lights, for all my cameras. I know how they work because I've fumbled and bumbled, but not when it was time to record. Okay. So what you're doing is you're conducting a full test, you're recording, you're mirroring your exact show conditions, you're reviewing the recording material to identify any kind of weakness that you might have. You're listening for echoes. You're listening to see if there's some mic bleed, and you're, are you saying huh or yes or whatever filler words? Are you using those repeatedly? What is it that you don't like? For me, I say certain words like huh or I'll do that, and that's something I've been working on for years. I'm so much better with it now, but I listen to myself and I get better every time that I listen to myself, because I'm like, okay, I said it 100 times this time. Okay, I said it 5 times. Oh shit, I didn't say it not one time, right? So that's the beauty of actually doing these recording trials, and the beauty of continuing to listen to yourself. Initially, I could not listen to myself when it came to podcasts. I was just, my fear of public speaking just wouldn't let me do it, because I knew if I listened to myself, there's no way I was going to record again the next time, right? Because I was going to be too stressed about it. So if you got to do it that way, that's fine. But just know one day when you want to get great, you're going to be listening to it yourself. But at least listen to the first one. Okay. All right. See, I said, step 9. This is the last step. Get your questions in the comment section. This is the last step, step 9. This is where we monitor, measure, adjust. Say it with me. Monitor, measure, adjust. This is really important stuff. Okay. So let's start from the beginning. The thing that you're going to care about the most is your listener retention. And we're talking about, this isn't like your first episode. I'm not talking about your first episode. I'm not talking about your 5th episode. I'm not talking about your 10th episode. I'm talking about 15, 20. You got 15, 20 in a can. Now you're looking at tracking this stuff. Now, not before, because if you do it before, you're going to be like a lot of my friends where they're obsessed with the downloads. They're attributing the downloads to how good their podcast is, which that is not the thing to do. Your first metric is getting at least 20 to 25 episodes done. That's the first metric. Most people quit after 5 episodes. It used to be 5, and then people like me started saying, yeah, people quit 5 episodes, but then it went to 7, and then it went to 9, then it went to 11, because people like, as long as I could just make it, this is my goal. Is that no, sorry, you're going to drop off a cliff. Go into 25 with a plan that you're going to, no matter what, you're going to still keep going, because you don't really care about this as far as you continuing to work. You care about it because you want efficacy. You want it to actually do what you intended to do. So episode 25, we jump in and we are looking at your listener retention. And I'm trying to figure out, are they staying for the outro? That's what we really want to know. That means they're listening from the beginning to the very end, the beginning to the very end. And what you'll see is you'll see certain dips. Usually is around those commercials. Oh, that's a good time to go do what I was supposed to do. Or, oh, man, I don't want to hear this commercial. I'm just going to freaking listen to something else. So think about that and make sure that you're monitoring that. And this will be a decision that you want to make sure that you write down as well. When it's time for you to pick. Yeah. When it's time for you to pick whatever host that you're using, do they have this type of metric that you can monitor? Right. And that's for listener retention. I think Spotify has it. So then after that, I'm going to, still not really, downloads. Yeah, they're important, but where are downloads coming from? Is it sustained? Is it the same? Is it planing? Is it going up? Is it going down? And usually what I'll say is, oh man, okay. April. Okay. It looked like you're going up, but now you're down. Okay, let me listen to that episode and let me listen to the last one you got, right? And I'll see if I can connect the dots and I can tell you, yeah, man, I noticed that you don't get into the subject, or I noticed that you give everything away here at this point, right? And we make those decisions, and then we start calculating, not making a whole bunch of adjustments, small adjustments, so that we can know what we actually did worked. Okay. You just have to be patient as you have to be patient as a podcaster to only want to tweak a certain amount of things. That don't mean add in Substacks. That doesn't mean freaking creating blogs or doing all this other stuff. Like, you got the same marketing plan, but you're tweaking just this. Okay. Just this one small tweak. And it could be change your commercial structure. And that's it. Right. That's the only way that you're going to get good data. All right. Now that I beat you over the damn head with that. Engagement rate. This is when you're making a decision. If you got it on LinkedIn, your LinkedIn interactions, is it good? Your email opens, where they open and where they clicking, or did they unsubscribe from you? What is your community telling you? Not like your parents, because they're going to tell you that it's sweet. Somebody that's going to give you critical information. And I can't say all family, because my daughter, she straight up tells me like, oh, I don't know about that. That sounds like this, or that sounds like host up culture, or like she gives it to me. And I tell you, the other day, I actually, like, my eyes got watery because she listened to a podcast episode and she was like, man, that was really good, Dad. I really appreciated that. And it was the episode where it was just me. Because at first I'm like, which one? And then she kind of thinking that it's like one with the expert. And she said the one with me. And I was just like, damn, okay. Thank you. I appreciate that. And my eyes got so watery. Oh my God. Man, so watery, man. I've been saying for all these years that I know, my kids don't listen to my show right now, but I know, like, it's my legacy. And this is the thing about podcasts. If I can sell you on anything when it comes to podcasting, is I know that they're going to listen to me when I'm gone. And a lot of families, they don't have that. They don't have the person that could connect the dots. I'll tell you, the people that I would have to go and connect the dots when it comes to, like, my grandparents' legacy, they both have either dementia or Alzheimer's. Think about that. podcasting is legacy for so many different reasons outside of business, right? I know for a fact my daughter is going to be listening to this when I'm gone and be like, what the hell is dad talking about? Or, oh, I can see the change in, in this. Or my son could be like, he made this video, or, maybe my other kids would be like, oh man, this is what it was like. This is what he was going through. You know what I mean? Like, but it's the whole truth and nothing but the truth. So help me God. It's my life. And to me, that's what's brought me the most joy when it comes to not only podcasting for myself, but seeing other people be able to do that. All right. So, so community feedback, who's going to give it to you? Yeah. And most of all, do you feel right with the content that you make in? Do you feel right with it? I made some military videos back in the day, and like this is like me having to like get that feedback from my heart. I was making these military where it was about like propaganda and going against propaganda, misinformation. And they started telling me to like wear a Marine Corps hat and wear like a shirt and just like be like this proud veteran, which I am very proud of my military service, but I don't have a boss like that. You know what I mean? That's not what I do. Right. I love people that do that, but that's not the way I dress. That's just not me. And before I even let them, I was already kind of sketched out by the content, but they were sponsors. But before it got to that point where hats and not saying certain words and stuff, I was out because my heart wasn't engaged. So yeah. Is your heart engaged with the content that you're making? That's the ultimate freaking adjustment. All right. All right. I'm gonna go through this a little bit. This is our bonus. Who's still with me? Who's still with me? Dang, look like we got the same. Yeah. All right. Cool. We got the same amount of people, if not more. I appreciate y'all for sticking with me. Make sure you put your questions in the chats, and I will go over it. So, monetization plan. Think about your podcast as not just being an audio file. It's actually your platform. It's actually your Trojan horse. This is going to get you in more places than a business card is going to get you. This is going to get you in more places than networking at a chamber function event or any of those networking places that you basically like pay to play, bring network, or whatever it is that you're in. I'm telling you, I have 99 problems and podcasting ain't one. And if you got this problem in podcasting, then I feel bad for you, son, because networking ain't a problem for me at all. Right. And that's not because I'm an introvert. I do networking all the time. You get to get rid of that networking freaking grind and headache when you have a podcast in that manner. You just have to do it in the way that works for you. You sit down, you have a conversation, you have, their phone numbers afterwards because they give it to you in the Calendly. Usually they want to contact with you. They know another friend that can come on the podcast that can give you value. They own this company, they own that company. Then they're like, oh man, I really love that podcast. How can I support you? Maybe they're sponsoring a couple episodes. Maybe they're sponsoring the whole season. Maybe they, want to give you a grant. Maybe that's the way that it works. Or maybe they want you to build whatever it is that you're good at for them. Right? That's the ecosystem Okay. So think of it like that when it comes to this engine. So in order to get this engine to go is CRM. You got to have a CRM. That's a form or document that I'll give you if you book that call with me too, where if you work with me, where you will have a database of the podcast, everything about the podcast, everything about the people, everything about the process right in that one place, right? Calendly, you got to have Calendly if you want to have such valued information. I appreciate that. Y'all are still here. Okay, cool. Yeah, I kind of went to my head a little bit. All right, so Calendly will be your lifesaver, and you don't want to just hook this thing up any old kind of way. You don't want to add all the Wizmos and gizmos. You want it to do a couple different things. You want the Calendly for people to be able to book you, and of course, your Calendly has to reflect your actually life calendar. And you want it to do another thing. You want your Calendly to be set up in a way to where it asks the questions that you don't have time to answer in your LinkedIn inbox or whatever inbox you're using. You don't have time to be answering all those questions. It's going to, do you have a camera? Do you have a microphone that's good quality? Are you willing to submit this to your network, people that come on my podcast? I don't want to sound bougie saying this, but sharing it on social media just is not good enough for me. I think social media is low value, but they're mailing lists. They're a prominent place in their website, right? Those are the things that made me go, oh yeah, bring them on the show. But we settle all of this stuff out in my Calendly, right? And then business licensing, right? You definitely need that if you're talking about monetizing your show. You need a business license, because if you're taking money as an organization and you're not legally set up, you're setting yourself up for a lot of risk. And a lot of podcasters right now they walk in that fine line until they don't. And there's a lot of lawyers right now that specialize on these type of things. So you need to be careful and make sure you have your license set up. Make sure you have insurance. Yep, I said it, insurance. At a certain point, you're going to want to have insurance, especially if you're dealing with people and you're hiring. You're hiring folks and you have sensitive information going on. Like, I got insurance to where if I get sued, if we get sued because I put something out and maybe it's dangerous to somebody's campaign, which I will never do. And, they say, hey, I'm going to sue Tony for a friggin' $1 million that he don't have. And they sue me, the insurance company, they go and they freaking get sued and they pay that money. So think about that stuff, right? The bigger the stakes, the more that you're going to have when it comes to this business, because it is a business. Okay. Another way to monetize, we're going to go to the bottom right corner of this. As a matter of fact, screenshot all of this, right? Because you want to know how my podcast make money. This is how my podcast has made. This is how it's made money since it started making money, right? This is the formula. Authority building. You're pursuing a niche graphic awards. So I've gotten several awards for the podcast. That's monetization right there, right? The podcast, it has that seal on it. It's an award-winning podcast, and not the awards that you go and buy. Don't be a sucker and send people $3,000 and $5,000 or $100 so that you can get these awards. You don't need to do that. There's free award platforms that you can submit your stuff, quality stuff, because this is an art, right? Artists make things so that it can submit them to the show, and they usually get awards, right? How cool is that to get rewarded for your art other than just money? I love it. I love looking over there and seeing the freaking media professional of the year award on my wall. How cool is that, right? It feels good to know that people appreciate your art, right? And it actually looks good when you're going after sponsors or when you're creating the other things that you have. It gives your business some legitimacy. And I'm not talking about the Better Business Bureau or your favorite local whatever meetings. They give you like that seal that you can pay for. I'm talking about legitimate stuff, okay? Authority building. You are guessing on the Dream 100 list of podcasts. Make that down as a goal, because the way that you get more listeners for podcasting, a lot of people don't think about this, is going on other podcasts. Not everybody listens to podcasts. My mom, before I started my podcast, and she recently listened to it, she had never listened to a podcast before. That's because she never really had a reason to, just like a lot of folks. Okay. But you will get a list of 100 people that you can go on their podcast. This is like when you're doing your marketing plan and you're going and you're doing your rounds, just like how when you see superstars, actors, you'll see them, they're going on their press tour and they're doing David Letterman. They're doing Noah. They're doing, back in the day, Oprah. And they're doing all these different places. That's because they're selling their doggone books. You know what I mean? They're selling their books, and the best way to do it is to go to a platform of people that read books. And in this situation, go to a platform of podcasters so that they can listen to your podcast. All right. So then let's go to direct monetization straight up at the top. This is one of my least favorite, where you have sponsorships. Usually the goal will be about 3. Usually by year 2, right? So it'll take a little bit of while. Affiliate marketing, that's if you're selling equipment on your podcast or something like that, you're sending that to them and you're getting a little small percentage. When I first started in podcasting, they told me that was the ultimate way to start making money fast, which yeah, man, if you want to freaking feel like you're pimping yourself out for some of these brands, be my guest, but it is not the ultimate way. It's not the ultimate way at all. Yeah, I don't agree. I don't agree with that. Premium subscriptions. That's a way. That's another way that's on some of the platforms that I mentioned earlier, where maybe certain content that you make only goes to a small group of people. But this is after you've already built that community. So keep that in mind. So that's going to take some time too. A lot of news people do that. They, people like me, I'm a news junkie lately, especially the independent journalists. They drop something like, oh, that's cool. Then I go to YouTube and it's a video that I haven't seen, and they're like, it's only for premium people. Man, hey, sometimes I want to just like sneak, and I tell my wife and like subscribe just so that I can get the latest and greatest. But I know it's probably not the best idea because it's going to be released later. So, but you can go that route. All right. Yeah, excuse me. This is the last one, and this is my favorite of all time. The one that you probably have been the one that you have probably been waiting for. Maybe you signed up just to hear and learn more about this. And I'm not going to tell you. No, I'm just kidding. Oh man, 2 hours and 19 minutes. All right. I appreciate everybody that's stayed here for this. And if you're watching this and the replay, put it down in the chat. Let me know you're watching the replay. so that, and tag me, and like personally tag me on it. Let me know you're watching it. That way I can watch it with you. And if you got some questions, I can drop some questions in the comment. I love engaging like that. So yeah, and share it. If you've gotten value off of this, share it. If you're thinking about starting a podcast yourself, reach out to me. I put that here. I'll put this back up. I think we're almost done. All right. So yeah. So my scan that if you want to book that call. But my favorite is the indirect monetization. This is the one where I actually felt like as a speaker, and this is not just for speakers, but I felt like it was my freaking super weapon. I'm talking about during COVID. Imagine during COVID, all of my friends that are speakers, my mentors, people I look up to, seeing them post or text and say that they're grounded, that, oh my God, I'm smiling just to paint a picture. I didn't think it was funny, but all of a sudden there's no work. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, I'm still getting speaking gigs and I'm posting it on LinkedIn. Look at me and the kids, we're at a school virtually. And, it was pretty cool. But then the BBC, they reached out and they're like, how are you doing this? This is crazy. How are you and a couple other people able to how are you able to still keep getting these speaking opportunities? And I told them the podcast, and I mentioned it, but I don't think that they put all my words in there about it. And I was just like, dang, man, I really missed out on a good opportunity for that article for the Financial Times. Because if they would have listened, I would have told them it was the podcast. The podcast is what made people say, yeah, he can hold a good conversation. Or, man, that guy really is inspiring. Or, man, I freaking hate him. Whatever the case is. It puts that attention. It puts that attention on you, and it's universal. Everybody, I'm not going to say everybody, but like majority of the world has access to internet, or has access to some interface that connects or communicates with the internet, and that's how we're all connected. And it started, and that really started making sense because, man, not only was I getting speaking opportunities, but we started speakuniversity.org, where we're showing and telling other people how to speak, and talking about using the podcast to, master your fear of public speaking. And, we're up to 2,000 students, and most of those students are not in the United States. They're abroad. The number one place is freaking India. And then it's the United States. And then it's Africa. Some of my favorite students are in Africa, and it feels weird to say it, but that would not have happened if it wasn't for the reach that we've been able to have with the podcast. So that's the opportunity. Like, what do you do if you're a speaker? What do you do? What do you do if you're a coach? This is the platform for you, the podcast, because that you have no choice but to talk about the things that you're good at. And those people, they're going to pick up their phone and they're going to say, how do I do that thing that only you know how to do? How do I do that? And they're going to find you, they're going to find your content. And after they find your content, they're going to binge, and they're going to figure out everything there is about you. Right. And that's the beauty of podcasting. It's the same thing with jobs. My last 2 jobs that I had, I didn't have to interview. And I asked the last person, why didn't you interview? They said, I feel like I know you already. That's because they were listening to my podcast or listening to some content that I had on LinkedIn. So keep that in mind. So the coaching, the speaking opportunities, that's how you use and you leverage this thing. You don't leverage the people that's listening to the show. You give that away for free. But through the relationships that we talked about before, there's always some opportunity. They always need people that come on my show. They always need some support, just like I always need support. We work together. We network. You've built an ecosystem that all of these other organizations have been trying to build, and communities they've been trying to build for so many years. But you get to really reach the people all over, and that's how you do it. I put lunch and learns on there. Whatever content that you have. I got this from John Maxwell program. They do lunch and learns. What they do is they go on lunch and they give them some information that they want for free, and then it turns into other opportunities, maybe coaching or whatever. You can do your lunch and learn by doing the exact same thing that I'm doing right here today with you. That's exactly how it works. But you can do it virtual under the guise of the reach that you have from the podcast, through the emails that you've captured from the website that I told you to build. All right. Let me see. Did we capture everything? What am I doing? All right. So, yeah. So we talked about purpose alignment. We built your structure. We talked about the different mediums. We talked about how to pick out your equipment. We talked about picking a podcast hosting platform. We talked about the recording plan, recording trials, gave you a killer marketing plan, I think. And we talked about monitoring all of the work that you did, measuring and adjusting. And we talked about the different indirect and direct ways that you can monetize. So here's what I want you to do. And we're done with that point on podcasting. I think you got enough information. We're at what, 2 hours, 27 minutes. Yeah. If you're still here, I want you to put in the comment section. And I guess if you're watching the replay, maybe we'll give yeah. If you're watching a replay, put it in the comments that you want this video so that you can go back and rewatch it. And you also want my show notes. And what I'll do is I will make sure that you get the link so that you can do so. And if you have watched this and you're like, man, I really like what Tony was talking about. You know, I appreciate the 4 different phases, the 9 different levels. And, you know, I know he tried to break it down for me as simple as possible, but I still feel like I need some help with this. I need somebody to help my hand a little bit. That's the kind of learner that I am, me personally. But if that is you, go ahead and in the corner here, my right, your left, go ahead and scan that. You can either scan out or you can click a link. It'll take you to a web page, and then it'll take you to my calendar. And I will walk with you, and we will take that blueprint that I gave you, and we'll build it to size for you so that it's perfect for you and your situation. Because I know that you got some questions. Maybe you're not going to put them in the chat. I see a bunch of them rolling in. I really appreciate that. I'm looking forward to getting to it. If you don't want to ask those questions, do you want to just like work with me and we go through it and we build it according to your stuff? Scan that and get on my calendar and we will make it work. It's an hour and a half. It's an hour and a half. Sometimes I go to 2 hours. I go until we get this thing built. And for right now, what I'm charging is usually $500 for that. Right now, it is still $225. If you go there and it's not, let me know, and I'll send you a coupon. But I think I changed it. All right, yeah, it is there. It's still there. Grab it while you can still get it. And I'm telling you this, and I really mean it from the bottom of my heart. I don't want you to say or believe that this is a tactic to get you to go and hurry up and sign up for it. I'm not going to be doing this anymore. This is the end of the road for me as far as helping people build podcasts. So while I'm still in this zone and still teaching, and I haven't sailed out into the sunset and doing other things. If you want to use your voice, you really want to take advantage of the impact that you can have with podcasting, you have a story to tell, you want to connect this thing to your legacy. You want to connect this podcast to your legacy. Something I said before, like when I know for a fact, I can feel it. I know my kids, or which one of my kids, I know that they're going to be listening to what I'm saying on that thing, want to know more about my story, more about this journey, and how sweet that is to be able to talk directly to them when I know that they're listening. Might not be listening now, but I know they'll be listening later, right? How beautiful it is to build that legacy. So yeah, if you want that blueprint built with you, according to you, just go ahead and click in the corner, and I'm going to get to some of these questions. I'll leave. What do we got? Caroline Jordan, thank you so much for your devotion, Tony. Yes, I would love to have a look at your notes. All right, awesome. I will send you that. Wright hasn't considered awards. All right. Get them. Yeah, get the awards. I had there's an episode on my podcast with somebody that's mentored me in this space a lot, with Enrique Gonzalez, and we break down how to go and get the awards, where to go and get them from, the type of things that you need to get them. We break that down on that episode. You can go to Leaders Lead the Podcast and you'll see that episode. It is good. I actually went back the other day and was taking some notes with that. But when I first got into the podcasting space, I was too shy to go and try to get awards. And I was just like, oh, I don't need that. That's like vain. The guy that I interviewed was actually the person that was like, no, dude, you need to listen to me. You need to go and you have to start getting these awards. It's going to help your show. And it did. Oh my God. It really, really helped the show. I don't think it's like the one thing that helped it, but it's one of the many useful tools that I use to leverage the platform that actually freaking works. So yeah, go and check out some awards that you can get from that podcast episode. Such valuable information. Thank you. I appreciate that. When are you starting your podcast? I'm curious. I thought most people couldn't pass the 5 podcast mark because they ran out of ideas. Interesting. Well, this is what I've noticed is a lot of the podcasters, they'll start and they say, I'm going to do all the things. I'm going to get all the things. And they just go and get all the equipment, all the gear that they don't need, that they don't know how to use. Allegedly buy all the softwares for the computer. And they do all of this stuff, and it's just like so overwhelming. And then they start planning, then they start second guessing themselves. They didn't build the structure. They throw some podcast episodes out there that's not their best. And then they got to do all of that all over again. And then they keep doing it. They get to 5, and it's so much. It's just like, yeah, it's a lot. So it's easy to say, okay, I'll get back to the studio and I'll record next week. I'll start being consistent then. It's so hard. And then they say, maybe I'll take a season off and I'll do it when I can find an editor, or I'll do it when I can find a co-star or. All right. My first test was live and I posted it. Should I remove them? I had some of everything going on for about 8 episodes. No, I wouldn't remove them if you got them going. If you got them going and that thing is rolling already, no, I wouldn't remove them if it was recently. If you did it like in 2022, if it was me, what I would do, if that was the last time you did 8, because you hit that thing that we were talking about when I was talking about 7, you did 1 over, and then I would delete it depending on how long it was, if it was a long time, and then I would jump back out with 5 episodes, and then for 3 weeks do 1 episode, and you kind of have like an 8-week buffer to put more in the can, right? I don't know if you saw the last comment from shoot. Oh man, I can't think of who left it. If whoever left the comment, put your name in the comment so I can give you credit for leaving that. But they said they had like 25 episodes. Like, wouldn't that be cool to be 25 weeks ahead? That would be so cool. It works if you're not like breaking news. Of course, if you're breaking news, you can't be ahead like that. That would be a waste. But if it's lessons based off like a coaching business or something like that, I think that would be a wise idea. Not a reason to not start the podcast, but if you already have 8 and it's been a while since you recorded, pull those and then drop the first. I would drop like the first 5 and then tease the 3 out, and then in the meantime be recording. All right. And measuring. Remember, don't forget, once you get to episode 25, take a look back, see how far you came, see how far you need to go, see what adjustments you need to make. And if we don't have any more questions, I think I am going to sign off. I appreciate all of the engagement. I appreciate the folks that stuck around. Definitely means a lot. Makes me feel like I gave y'all some good value. This has been incredible. I wish you all luck, and I really hope that you will take advantage of the information that I gave you, take advantage of the notes that I'm going to send you, and launch a show. The world really needs to hear your voice with so much in the world today. Like, I know that you can do some good. That's what I try to do in my podcast episodes, do some good, just a little bit, it counts. All right. So without further ado, I will give you the rest of your evening. Thank you for attending this workshop, and let me know in the comment if there's something I can do to support you, and see you later.